If Men Were Angels Federalist paper number 51, written by James Madison, explains how our system of government is designed to safeguard our freedom. Pocahontas and Mahatma Gandhi discuss this matter with me, Martin Luther King.
So, Martin, tell me a little about the reason the Constitution was constructed in the way it is in America, the land that I love.
Okay, Pocahontas, I'll be happy to. The question was how we give enough to the government to control the people, while still allowing the people to control the government, yet respect minority rights.
This is a fundamental issue that explains the need for limited government.
I believe it was Madison, writing under the name Publius, who addressed the people of New York, asking to what devices do we resort for maintaining the necessary partition of power among the several branches of government, as laid down in the Constitution?
The only answer that can be given is by so contriving the structure of our government that its several different parts may, by their mutual relations, be the means of keeping each other in their proper places.
Pocahontas, what Madison was saying there is that, since no one outside of government can control the government, we must think of a way that the government will ultimately restrain itself, and that is what the Constitution seeks to accomplish.
Without presuming to undertake a full development of this important idea, I will hazard a few general observations, which may perhaps enable us to form a more correct judgment of the principles and structure of the government planned by the Constitutional Convention.
Okay, Poke, have at it.
In order to lay a proper foundation for that separate and distinct exercise of the different powers of government, which to a certain extent is essential to the preservation of liberty, it is obvious that each branch of government should have a will of its own, and consequently should be so constituted that the members of each branch should have as little say-so as possible in the appointment of the members of the other branches of government.
If I understand you correctly, you are saying that, if we want each branch of government to function independently of the others, we need to make sure that each branch is elected, or appointed by a different group. Otherwise, like-minded people will be elected and appointed to every position. Otherwise, branches of government would not function independently.
This is an important point, suggesting that it is not only the structure of the government, but also the people who are in the government that matter. We cannot evaluate the structure of government without having a good idea of the people who will administer the government.
Yes, but we shouldn't carry that independence too far. In the case of the judicial branch, in particular, because judges are appointed for life, it might be a good idea that the people who serve as judges be selected by the other branches of government, so they are not completely independent.
Yes, but no branch of government should be utterly dependent on another branch for its basic necessities. Or else the branch, in control of the necessities, could control the other by threatening to cut its basic necessities.
The great security against a gradual concentration of power in one branch of government consists in giving to those who administer each branch the necessary constitutional means and personal motives to resist encroachments of the other branches.
The safeguards must in this, as in all other cases, be made commensurate to the danger of attack. Ambition must be made to counteract ambition. The interest of the man in each branch of government must be connected with the constitutional rights of that branch of government. It may be a reflection on human nature that such devices should be necessary to control the abuses of government.
But what is government itself, but the greatest of all reflections on human nature?
If men were angels, no government would be necessary. If angels were to govern men, no controls on government would be necessary.
In creating a government which is to be administered by men over men, the great difficulty lies in this. You must first enable the government to control the governed, and in the next place, oblige it to control itself.
A dependence on the people is, no doubt, the primary control on the government. But experience has taught mankind the necessity of auxiliary precautions.
But it is not possible to give to each department an equal power of self-defense. In our republic, the legislative authority necessarily predominates.
The remedy for this is to divide the legislature into different branches, the Senate and the House, and to render them, by different modes of election and different principles of action, as little connected with each other as the nature of their common functions and their common dependence on the society will admit.
It may even be necessary to guard against dangerous encroachments by still further precautions.
The strength of the legislative authority requires that it should be divided between the Senate and the House. The weakness of the executive may require, on the other hand, that it should be fortified. An absolute veto on the legislature appears, at first view, to be the natural defense with which the executive should be armed. But an absolute veto power would be neither altogether safe nor alone sufficient to control the legislature.
Where there is only a single national government, all the powers surrendered by the people is submitted to the administration of a single government, and the people are protected against an overreaching government by a division of the government into distinct and separate branches. In the compound Republic of America, the powers surrendered by the people is first divided between two distinct governments, federal and state, and then the portion allotted to each is subdivided among separate branches.
Hence a double security arises to the rights of the people. The different governments, state and national, will control each other, at the same time that each will be controlled itself.
In other words, states' rights as well as the separation of powers are an important check on the power of government, and designed to safeguard our freedom. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
It is also of great importance in a republic, not only to guard the people against the oppression of its rulers, but to guard one part of the people against the injustice of the other part of the people. Different interests necessarily exist in different groups of citizens. If a majority be united by a common interest, the rights of the minority will be insecure.
There are but two methods of providing against this evil, the one by creating a power independent of the majority, that is, independent from the people.
The other method is by including in the society so many separate descriptions of citizens as will render an unjust combination of a majority of the whole very improbable, if not impractical.
The first method, a power independent of the people, prevails in all government by monarchy and dictatorship. This, at best, is but a precarious security, because a power independent of the people may as well espouse the unjust views of the majority as the rightful interests of the minority, and may also possibly be turned against all the people.
Gee, that's risky. What's the second method?
The second method will be exemplified in the Federal Republic of the United States. While all authority in it will be derived from and dependent on the people will be broken into so many parts, interests, and classes of citizens, that the rights of individuals, or of the minority, will be in little danger from interested combinations of the majority.
In a free government, the security for civil rights must be the same as that for religious rights. Security in the case of civil rights is provided by the multiplicity of interests, and of religious rights in the multiplicity of sects.
The degree of security in both cases will depend on the number of interests and sects. And this may be presumed to depend on the size of the country and number of people under the same government. In exact proportion as the territory of the Union may be formed into smaller states, oppressive combinations of a majority will be facilitated. The best security, under our form of government, for the rights of every class of citizens, will be diminished by smaller units of government. And consequently the stability and independence of some other part of the government, the only other security against oppression, must be proportionately increased.
Justice is the purpose of government.
Justice is the purpose of civil society. Justice ever has been, and ever will be pursued, until it be obtained, or until liberty be lost in the pursuit.
In a society under the forms of which the stronger faction can readily unite and oppress the weaker, anarchy may as truly be said to reign as in a state of nature, where the weaker individual is not secured against the violence of the stronger. In a state of anarchy even the stronger individuals are prompted, by the uncertainty of their condition, to submit to a government which may protect the weak as well as themselves. So, 2. In a form of government, where the majority may oppress the minority, the more powerful factions, or will gradually be induced to wish for a government which will protect all parties, the weaker as well as the more powerful.
The larger the society, provided it is not too large to be practical, the more capable it will be of self-government. And happily for our republic, the practicality may be enlarged to a very great extent, by a judicious modification and mixture of the federal principle.
The federal principle, yes, the idea that power is divided between the central government and the state governments, and among different branches of government.
Amen.